Well, the moon is also a much smaller body than the Earth, and because it has much less mass than our planet does, it would be affected much more greatly by the close approach of Mars or anybody than the Earth would. The moon had two bodies essentially fighting over it at this time, and this created a tremendous problem with tidal frictions and things like this that led to the heating of the surface. And under the heating, it's much more susceptible to bubbles, of course, or to craters, large impact craters, and various other things like this that gave origin to its features. There's a very important fact here, too, concerning the Earth, especially since the time of the space program's initiation. Nobody felt that the Earth was a very extensively cratered planet. We know now that Mars looks very much like the moon.
Just a little fresh one. Little fresh, boy, look at that. Very angular flags all over the thing. Yeah, we passed several of those.
Roger, our TV pan suggests you can go straight for St. George Crater, and you'll find elbow okay. And we're suggesting you omit checkpoint 1. Riesling Crater should be a good landmark along the way, and head 208. Over.
Okay, 208, Joe.
There's no commonly accepted method by which the carbon that has been found on the moon could have gotten there. We have the picture of the Earth and the moon passing through the tail of Venus and the carbonaceous compounds pouring down on it. On the moon, these would, through subsequent heating and irradiation, be changed into less complex forms of carbon, such as carbides or carbonates. This is what was expected in the picture that we've been discussing. There are any number of directions we can go in talking about carbon from here.
And the rain of carbon or petroleum products can really come about in a couple of ways. Oro and Hahn have recently published an article in Science magazine in which they mention various possibilities as to the interaction of a comet and a planet producing hydrocarbons, and they could have also already been in the comet tail, and so either mechanism could have dumped them on the Earth.
Fourth stage, engine arm down, 99 Pro. Let's lift off.
We have a very interesting possibility now that in our cars we drive with power that came to us, or energy that came to us only a few hundred centuries ago from Venus. We understand more now because of the fact that we can change oil into edible materials, how the Israelites might have been able to eat manna that was perhaps in some way oil changed into an edible form by bacteria. We have some explanation now for the rivers of milk and honey flowing that Velikovsky pointed out as being an indication of hydrocarbons in worlds in collision some 25 years ago almost now.
Warner Sizemore, Assistant Professor of Philosophy and Religion at Glassboro College.
Actually, there's so many facts that support Velikovsky's theories. It's hard to know where to begin. We could just pick up from here and there some simple facts and look at them. For example, the moons of Mars, decades before they were discovered with the aid of a telescope. Jonathan Swift wrote about them. Velikovsky suggests possibly that he had use of sources that are no longer extant, which reflect the fact that ancient man was able to see them simply because the orbit of Mars was different due to these great upheavals of the solar system, which drove Mars closer to the Earth in its encounter with Venus. These moons of Mars were seen by the ancient men with the unaided eye, without the use of a telescope. One of the most interesting cases that are these mammoths that are frozen in the Yukon or in Alaska, frozen in the muck and the gravel of that area, that still have food in their mouths. The flesh has been preserved in the ice, so that actually when they were dug out, when they were digging for gold, they could actually feed the flesh of these animals to sledge dogs. Whatever happened happened suddenly, as for example the tilting of the axis of the Earth and freezing them right there where they were found just a few years ago. One of the interesting questions that Velikovsky's work raises for the study of religion reopens the question which a lot of scholars are no longer too interested in, that is the origin of religion. There are various theories, but Velikovsky opens the question again as to the possible astral origin. Why did the ancients worship stars or planets that the average person can't pick out of the sky today? And yet, all of our ancient heritage that comes to us in terms of architecture, writing, and so on, they're actually obsessed with the idea of worshiping these stars, these dreaded planets. All mankind through the years have worshipped stars that we can't even pick out of the sky today. Now why? Why were they so obsessed with them? Unless in some way these stars were threats to them, in some way impressed themselves upon ancient man.
The catastrophes described in ancient sources were traumatic experiences common to all mankind. Purged from conscious memory, these records are now interpreted as allegories, metaphors, and the trauma has been submerged in the unconscious. Velikovsky calls this collective amnesia.
A book like Old Testament is read maybe more than any other book through the centuries. It's translated to all languages. And you read there about sea and unchanging places, about mountain moving into the sea, mountain being overturned, mountain melting like wax. And you think that this is metaphors. And so it is the phenomenon that Freud stressed and stressed again, of the role of traumatic experience on the life of an individual. But he stressed also another point, namely, that the victim of this partial amnesia lives under the urge to repeat the traumatic experience, sometimes changing roles, making somebody else the victim. And mankind today, advanced enough in technology, produced thermonuclear weapons that could be like a symbol or something representing the ancient, violent, celestial body that through fire and smoke disturbed the rotation of the earth. Now, if man is under the urge to repeat the ancient catastrophic events, the ancient trauma, are we not in a predicament? It is not a preaching to be better. It is a preaching to know yourself.